small baby hands,
I better use my strong hand,
bashing your enemy with a menorah, and the worst sauna experience I've ever had. The Boys is finally back.
This is the best day of my life.
Okay, calm down, Todd. Yes, clean out your pink eye. We have the first 3 episodes of The Boys, and we have a lot to discuss, from its connection to Gen V, who the new member of the Seven will be, and the most exciting trial since Tyrion Lannister.
I demand a trial by combat.
Keep in mind there will be no comic spoilers, but I will be going over some of the images from the trailers to sleuth out where the story could be headed. But before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe. Firecracker is just killing me in views right now, and your support is really welcomed.
Now, who wants their balls crushed?
It's finally here, election night, and I haven't been as shocked at an election since 2016. You gotta love the song choice of God Save the Queen by English punk rock band the Sex Pistols as soon-to-be Vice President Neuman greets the crowd. Of particular note, the lyric, "She ain't no human being."
She ain't no human being.
The last time we saw Victoria Neuman was in Gen V after acquiring a virus from Dr. Edison Cardosa that can kill Supes. But why would a Supe want a virus that kills Supes? Well, we know that Victoria's main priority is the safety of her daughter Zoe, and who happens to be the biggest threat to her? None other than our milk-loving friend, Homelander.
Who wants a creamy, delicious milkshake?
Remember that the virus isn't 100% strong enough to take down Homelander, so Victoria will have to hire her own scientists and refine it herself. In the season trailer, we'll see the boys uncover a house in the countryside with a hidden lab that contains these pus-filled appendages, the same symptoms we saw on the students given the virus in Gen V. Notice how Starlight has a Canadian passport here. Is this lab potentially in Canada, or do they have to flee there? We'll also see the boys fight off bulletproof chickens and flying sheep, so I'm wondering if this is all part of this farm/lab compound where animals are given Compound V and tested on to see if the virus will work. And while we're on the topic of this virus and Gen V, let's talk about Sam and Cate, who we know will make an appearance this season. The only mention of them we get in the first 3 episodes comes from this chyron in episode 3, stating Guardians of Godolphin Sam and Cate to join the 7 members at V52 Expo. In a tweet from the official Boys account, we learn that the first episode of season 4 takes place about a month after the Gen V finale. Still no word on the fate of Marie, Jordan, Emma, and Andre, who were last seen locked up after being framed for the massacre at Godolphin. It's also unclear how the writers will navigate around the tragic death of actor Chance Perdomo. I do know that they're not replacing his character with a new actor. The boys are on a mission to put an end to Victoria and have devised a plan to switch her eye solution with acid. Mother's Milk, aka Marvin, will later tell Grace Mallory and President Singer that he had good intel this idea would work. However, when Huey, in an act of desperation, throws acid on her, it has no effect.
Pathetic.
I also love how the art direction conveys a sense of what's going on in this world. Check out these posters of Homelander with graffiti saying "Killing America" and one where Homelander has a Hitler stash. Bonus points if you caught that the name of the catering company is called Mr. Marathon, named after the original speedster of the 7 who was replaced by A-Train.
Oh, me and Mr. Marathon used to sneak college girls in this way.
Butcher, meanwhile, is looking like complete shit. At the end of season 3, Butcher was diagnosed with a brain condition, a result of his repeated use of Compound V24. With only about 6 months to live, the question for Butcher this season is if he can repair his relationship with Ryan before it's too late. Let's be honest, the guy has a terrible track record when it comes to his friends and family, and to help him through this is the ghost of his ex-wife Becca, who it's revealed is this imaginary person Butcher's been talking to throughout these first 3 episodes.
Oh, don't you start. I'm fine.
Right.
A common theme this season is mortality, as both Butcher and Homelander struggle with getting older and death. In fact, what person doesn't keep a jar of gray pubes? Notice that he keeps this jar alongside mementos of the past, like this photo of Stormfront and Milk Bottle. In fact, his entire apartment is filled with sculptures and paintings of the past. Soon Homelander will become a relic of the past, which is probably why he is so obsessed with Ryan being his legacy. For the first 3 seasons, humans and Supes have lived in relative peace, but if these first episodes are any indication, there's a fascist coup forming that will throw the very structure of America and potentially the world upside down. Homelander sees humans as mere toys.
They're only humans. And Toys for our amusement. They're only human, Ryan. Toys.
This isn't new from Homelander. He's held anti-human sentiment for several seasons.
Vicky, I'm glad you chose your own kind.
And now it's reached a boiling point.
Humans are nothing. They're less than nothing, and yet they control everything.
But when Homelander brings into the Seven Sisters Sage, the world's smartest person, he finally has a roadmap on how to take over. In episode 3, we'll see Homelander make a deal with Victoria Neuman. In exchange for taking care of President Singer, Victoria, when she becomes president, will enact a series of pro-Supe reforms, setting the stage for Supe supremacy. These reforms include disbanding the Bureau of Superhuman Affairs, which holds Supes accountable for crimes, condemning the Defund the Supes movement, removing all books and teachers who teach critical Supe theory, a comment on the current critical race theory discourse, have a hero in every town with legal authority over the police, insanely scary, and when she finally gets into the Oval Office, Victoria will have to reveal herself as a Supe. Now, Victoria says no to this deal, and Homelander says she should be proud of who she is. Does she want her daughter to be ashamed of who she is?
So what kind of example are you setting by staying in the closet?
I know I'll be corrected in the comments, but I don't believe Victoria has ever stated why she really wants to be president. Obviously, there's some bullshit answers like make a better world for her daughter, but I think her motives are much more hidden and may lead to a big reveal later in the season. I also want to talk a bit about Zoe. Well, we finally get to see what her power is after Victoria injected her with Compound V in season 3. I think it's really cute, this relationship she has with Ryan.
Does nobody come back pregnant?
Okay, not that cute. But it just goes to show that even though they have insane powers, they're still just kids. When the two grab some cookies and cream ice cream, they're interrupted by Butcher. And maybe I'm looking too deep into this, but notice Zoe texting someone as she leaves. Moments later, Homelander arrives. We'll also see Zoe on her phone at the ice rink where Homelander also is. Is this just a girl busy on her phone, or is there some sort of communication going on here that Zoe is hiding from her mom? Homelander has a nice Girls Get It Done reference.
Girls get it done in the White House.
A callback to season 2's Girls Get It Done initiative, a poster of which can also be seen in the Gen V frat house. Homelander confronts Butcher here, but there's no sense in killing him. For one, Homelander is currently on trial for the death of a Starlight supporter at the end of season 3, so he doesn't need that heat. And second, he can tell that Butcher only has 6 months to live. He will definitely not allow Ryan to go back with Butcher. Meanwhile, Frenchie and Kimiko's mission to replace Victoria's eye droplets fails when Zoe catches on to them. And poor Kimiko's arm gets completely gnawed off, growing into this weird baby arm. In order to escape, they have to fling themselves out of the hotel window where Frenchie is miraculously caught by Starlight. Remember that at the end of season 3, Starlight learned that she could levitate using her powers, and this is a skill she'll develop over the course of the next few episodes. Now, Victoria is not too pleased about Huey and his mission to melt her eyes. It's sad to see these two grow distant considering how close they were when they worked at the Bureau for Superhuman Affairs. In fact, they were so close that Victoria says she almost told Huey that she was a Supe. Even after Butcher attempts putting a bullet through her skull, she still believes the best course of action for them is a truce. The boys won't divulge that she's a Supe in exchange for her not popping their heads. I don't know, seems like a pretty good deal to me. Neuman and Singer end up winning the election. However, there are at least 2 months until Singer is officially sworn in as president. Mother's Milk is chewed out for the mission gone wrong, and I love this plaque in honor of Susan Rayner, who you might remember as the former deputy director of the CIA who had her head blown off by Victoria in season 2. To our surprise, it's none other than Singer that was behind this mission. He knows he'll likely be killed by Victoria and wanted to get the jump.
A Supe is one heartbeat away from the presidency. My heartbeat.
Meanwhile, Butcher meets with an old friend and newcomer to the show, Joe Kessler, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Already my red flags are going off. He says he needs someone like Butcher on his side before the Supes start rounding us up and putting us in camps. So does he want to maintain the status quo, or is he the type of guy who wants Supes gone for good? I can't help but think he's hiding something much more nefarious. Mother's Milk goes on his own journey in search of Todd, his ex-wife's lover and Homelander superfan. He's actually the guy who first starts applauding after Homelander lasered the Starlight supporter at the end of season 3.
Yeah! Yeah!
Normally, Marvin wouldn't give a shit about where Todd is, but his daughter Janine, who adores him, has been acting out since Marvin's wife kicked him out. Yeah, it's a bit complex. So Marvin's doing this favor for his daughter. Unfortunately, Todd is all part of an elaborate plan by Sister Sage to frame their deaths on Starlight supporters. When Homelander enlists Sister Sage, she has this theory.
The people will tear it apart themselves, and you get to swoop in, be the one saving it.
She is molding Homelander to be the savior of the people, not unlike Caesar. But to do so, she must pit these two rival factions against each other, the Starlighters and Hometeamers. And if it isn't blatantly obvious, this is a satire on the current left versus right politics going on in the United States today. Homelander orders Black Noir, the Deep, and A-Train to kill these innocent men, and for A-Train to dispose the bodies during this clash of protesters, pitting the Starlighters as violent enemies. Sister Sage knows the importance of how fake news can elicit emotional responses from the people, which is why she gets Homelander to take on a new member of the Seven, Firecracker. She acts as a popular political tool for Homelander's agenda, spreading misinformation and rallying disenfranchised groups to his cause. It's so effective that we'll even see a guy come into Starlight home and hold it at gunpoint, asking where the captured children are, a nod to the 2016 Pizzagate conspiracy that claimed New York police discovered a Democrat-run child sex trafficking ring underneath a pizza shop. Sister Sage learns that Firecracker sells to the people the most important thing of all, and it's not truth, but purpose. Although Sister Sage and Firecracker may not be the strongest Supes out there, their addition to the Seven is all part of a grand scheme to pave the way for Homelander and Supe superiority. And while Homelander steers his way to greater power, he must also face his own inner demons. In episode 1, we'll see him haunted by visions of the past, including some images we've never seen before, including what appears to be young Homelander in a red room. At the end of episode 3, when Homelander lashes out at his son for seeing Butcher behind his back, he throws a bust of himself at a mirror which smashes, a metaphor for how fractured he is internally. These alter egos of his taunt him, saying that he'll never have love, not even from his own son. But there is a solution.
You're never gonna be your true self until you transcend your humanity. What do I do?
And in order to do this, he must go back to the start.
John, you need to go home.
But where is home? A series of flashbacks hint this alter ego is referring to the lab where John, aka Homelander, was raised, a lab where he underwent horrific experiments to test his strength. In Season 3, we find out it was these alternate personalities that helped him get through the quote-unquote bad room.
When we were kids, alone in the bad room, I got us through it.
Which is probably what this red door leads to. In the final flashes of episode 3, we'll see this door, a woman leading him there, broken surgical supplies, likely broken from trying to cut his skin, and even a welding machine. Perhaps by uncovering the horrors done to him by humans, it will allow him to shed any sort of emotion holding him back from becoming the destroyer of humanity. A while ago, I briefly mentioned Black Noir. How was he here if he was killed by Homelander? Remember, Homelander killed Noir for withholding information about who his father really was, and that of course was Soldier Boy. Well, good old Vought has once again covered this whole thing up and switched him with an actor who can talk. More funny news stickers, this one saying that Brett Favre justifies diverting food bank funds because of childhood obesity. No doubt a jab at the former NFLer's scandal in which he allegedly used $6 million in welfare funds to build a volleyball stadium. The first 3 episodes also introduce us to a load of new Supes, such as Webweaver, who was just discharged from a global wellness center in Malibu.
Because even heroes need saving sometimes.
Ashley even has a PowerPoint of potential new members of the Seven, including Talon, who is 1/8 Navajo, has super long nails, and even had a role in everyone's favorite hole lover, Tech Knight's Heat of the Night. There's also Hyperion, voted #1 runner-up after Homelander for sexiest Supe alive, Dognaught, who can control dogs, hates fireworks, and of course is from Portland. He went to the prestigious Julius Rome's Obedience School, a take on Caesar Milan. And of course Wrangler, who protects the border.
Isn't he,
Texas nutjob. The San Antonio office had to cover up those migrant murders.
I kinda like him.
We'll later see in the news chyron on NNC, which is just CNN backwards, that he's on trial for domestic abuse, but his attorneys claim that his girlfriend's fractured vertebrae wasn't his fault, it's just a congenital defect. I also love this very brief line where Ashley thanks Homelander for saving her at Godolkin.
After that debacle at Godolkin, Thank you again for saving my life.
The Deep is on his own path this season after the divorce with his wife, who went on a book tour exposing some of his biggest secrets. We'll see him on Haley Miller's talk show, who you might remember interviewed Marie Moreau at Godolphin. The Deep keeps his octopus lover Ambrosius, voiced by Tilda Swinton, hidden away in his closet after it was revealed he had intimate relations with her. And things get worse for the Deep as he is constantly berated by Ashley and loses his job as head of crime analytics. But what's really interesting is his new relationship with Sister Sage. It's her that gives him the strength to stand up to Ashley, and in episode 3 they'll do the dirty. We'll see this device laid out on the counter in Sister Sage's apartment. I did some digging, and this is a surgical device called an orbitoclast used for lobotomies. It seems that Sage has given herself a lobotomy, making her dumber, which would explain why she wants to watch Transformers 2 and vibes with the Deep. The big question is if this is permanent or something Sister Sage does to let off some steam. Remember that she does have moderate regenerative powers, so this is likely temporary, a way for her to unwind after a tough day at work. I could see a world where this is permanent and done to kind of absolve herself of the evils Homelander is making her do, but I just don't get that vibe at all. Let me know what you think in the comments. When Sister Sage is brought up as a potential member of the Seven, it's A-Train who immediately shuts it down. The two worked together when they were teens on Teen Kicks, a group of young Supes managed by Vought, and something definitely went down between the two.
She's the world's smartest person. She's not smart enough to know when to shut her mouth.
We haven't seen any of Teen Kicks on the show thus far, but Mesmer did wear a Teen Kicks shirt way back in season 1.
But there's only one person who can see inside their hearts and read their minds.
This man is the rapist.
It's also kind of ironic that Homelander almost makes the Deep blow A-Train when this is the very room the Deep sexually assaulted Starlight in season 1. Firecracker will later blow this back in Starlight's face when it's revealed the two go way back.
Without blowing some dude to get there.
Firecracker has a deep personal hatred for Starlight after what she did to her on the pageant circuit as kids. Starlight spread hateful rumors about her, resulting in her quitting the pageant scene, and from that day forth she vowed to show the world what a conniving bitch Starlight really is. Now there's no confirmation for this, but I like to think this girl here is young Firecracker, or as she used to be called in the circuit, Sparkler. Now Starlight apologizes and says she's changed, but Firecracker fires back,
People don't change.
I think it's this belief that will come back and bite Firecracker in the ass, but we'll just have to wait and see. Once again, the boys just knocks it out of the park with these hilarious news ads, like supporting Homelander's defense fund, which uses the same font and logos as Trump's. A-Train even says you can get a free token that jab at Trump's own meme coins like Trump Coin and Baby Trump. Speaking of cryptocurrency, there's Vought Coin Arena, which is playing A Very Super Christmas, featuring none other than Queen Maeve and Jesus. But we'll get to that a bit later. Huey's journey centers around his relationship with his mother. After his father has a stroke, his long-lost mother returns, and he has to reconcile his feelings of abandonment with the truth about what really happened. According to Huey's mother, she suffered from severe depression and could not carry on with her current life, so the choice for her was basically to abandon him or kill herself. To make matters a little more interesting is that she has power of attorney over Huey's dad, so I'm curious if she'll do anything Huey won't agree with. Butcher has a secret meeting with Victoria Neuman at an abandoned Vought video. Check out the boarded up Church of the Collective reading room next door. Kind of funny since it was Victoria who popped the head of the Collective's leader at the end of season 2. This place has all sorts of cool Easter eggs like the cutout for Polarity Static Heat 3, posters for Home for Kwanzaa, and Big Crazy Love 2, which is available on Vought Plus starring Termite. There's the Soldier Boy story and an hour-long Halloween special starring members of the Seven. Butcher wants to work with Victoria in order to save Ryan, but if she's going to work with him, she needs a gesture of good faith. She wants all the info they have on her time at Red River, the foster home for Supes she went to before being adopted by Stanley Edgar. This also happens to be the same place Marie Moreau was raised until she got into Godolphin. Butcher will end up not giving over these files after being confronted by the ghost of his ex-wife. She encourages him to find another way to save Ryan, but he fears the man she married who could do this job is long dead.
That man died a long time ago. It's too late.
At the end of season 3, Starlight threw her costume in the garbage chute to focus on being Annie January, her real name. She wanted to put Starlight behind her, but this is easier said than done, and it looks as though if she'll want to take on Homelander, she'll have to rally her supporters behind Starlight.
Cheesy as it sounds, people need a symbol.
Working at Starlight Home is Frenchie's friend Colin, who he met through Narcotics Anonymous. To be honest, I was a little taken aback by Frenchie's new love interest. Not because he's a man, it's actually been hinted that Frenchie is bisexual in the past, but what this means for his relationship with Kimiko. At the end of season 3, I thought Kimiko and Frenchie were in a good place, but it looks like Kimiko is totally cool with Frenchie going after Colin's baguette. However, there's one major setback. In Frenchie's murderous past, he killed Colin's family, so we see Frenchie popping pills to help reconcile his love for Colin and the fact he murdered his family. The past also comes to haunt Kimiko. Kimiko learns of a Shining Light terror cell in the city, the same group that killed her parents and kidnapped her and her brother. She and Frenchie will infiltrate one of their drug warehouses where we see all these jitterbean containers, a store of which can be found on Godolphin campus. But during this raid, Kimiko stumbles upon someone she knows. They must have not had the greatest of relationships because she continues to stab Kimiko. Even so, it's Kimiko who tells Frenchie to put down his gun, letting her escape. So who is she? The scar across her face suggests she might have been a fellow trafficked child forced to fight with Kimiko in these knife fights. My guess is that it's Kimiko who gave her that scar. In the credits, she's billed as Tala and will appear in at least 2 more episodes. Here's Sister Sage reading a book by showrunner Eric Kripke. It's at a planet Vought that Todd and 2 other Hometeamers are killed by A-Train Black Noir and the Deep. Based on Planet Hollywood, Planet Vought is where Homelander took Ryan a few seasons ago. There are some cool autographed posters from your favorite Supes like Mindstorm, who met a tragic end at the hands of Soldier Boy last season. Oh yeah, there's also Funko Pops, which I'm sure heavy spoilers will add to his collection. Homelander is found not guilty, and it's Sister Sage who incites a riot by throwing a delicious jitterbean coffee in a Hometeamer's face. The chaos allows A-Train to drop the dead bodies, and it's not long before Cameron Coleman and the Vought News propaganda machine, based off Fox News, gets to work blaming it on those no-good liberal Starlighters. Cameron has a few cameos in these first 3 episodes, but my favorite is him tied up by Ashley.
Me?
One of the big questions I have is if Butcher will find a way to cure his illness. At the end of episode 1, we'll see this worm-like thing going through his veins near his skull. Whatever he has doesn't seem natural. Then again, he got this way by taking something completely unnatural. In a world where all sorts of weird Supes exist, I would not be surprised if there is a way to cure him. Back to A-Train, well, his life has fallen apart. He's estranged from his brother, is ordered to senselessly kill innocents, and worst of all, begrudgingly works on a white savior movie starring Will Ferrell called Training A-Train, a fictitious biopic about his life. Ferrell plays Coach Brink, named after former Dean of Godolphin Richard Brinkerhoff, who taught A-Train.
A-Train's the most driven kid I've taught since Queen Maeve.
Gotta love famous director Adam Bork at the helm, who of course directed Dawn of the Seven and often teaches at Godolphin. It's A-Train's disillusionment with Vought and the Seven that motivates him to sneak into crime analytics and gather CCTV footage showing that 2 men who were framed for the riot murders were in fact innocent. I think A-Train's arc this season is one of the more interesting of all our characters. He has to prove that he's not a fake and can actually be a real hero.
Your saves were never real. You never actually saved anyone.
Fun fact, I live 1 minute away from where they shot this, so I went out and took some photos of what it actually looks like. Mother's Milk ends up meeting with A-Train in the hopes he could turn on Vought, but this doesn't go over well. Poor Ryan is also pulled in every which direction this season, along with going through the awkwardness of puberty.
Although Ryan could spew goo if he wanted to.
On the one hand, there's Homelander who wants to turn him into a spitting image of him.
We have to share everything with each other until we almost merge into one.
Homelander is devoid of almost any empathy, and when Ryan's solo save goes horribly awry and he ends up killing a man, Homelander can't even tell that this death was weighing on him. On the other hand, there's Butcher, the man who once shunned Ryan and said some truly terrible things.
Well, maybe I don't want to look at you. After what you'd done to my Becca, did you ever think about that?
Butcher is obviously the better father figure, but Ryan can't just abandon his dad, so he's really caught between a rock and a hard place. The set design and props at Truthcon, where the boys track down Sister Sage, is filled with all sorts of hilarious conspiracy theories such as Starlight is a lizard person, but also some that are actually true, like Soldier Boy held captive by CIA, and Soldier Boy and Liberty's secret lovers.
Me and this other Supe, Liberty, man, was she a firecracker.
Unfortunately, a trap is set for the boys, and our gang has to fight Firecracker and her simp, Splinter, in one of the wildest action scenes so far. Splinter can multiply himself over and over, but his weakness is that if his Prime dies, the original, so do all the others.
No, not Prime, no!
It's Butcher who comes and saves the day at this all-out brawl at a marvelous Mrs. Maisel-themed bat mitzvah, which you can also watch on Prime. No, they don't pay me. Firecracker manages to get away, and a few days later, she and Sister Sage are introduced as new members of the Seven. But at this rally, you'll notice that there are only 6 members, and Homelander asks the audience who they think should be the final member. It'll be interesting to see if this new member will be someone we know or someone completely new. If I had to place a bet, the person who would best help Homelander and Sister Sage's plan would be Cate and her power of persuasion. They could cause a lot of damage with that. In the trailer, we also see Butcher fighting Ezekiel, the former Capes for Christ organizer, who I doubt is Seven material. Another fun news chyron from NNC stating an audit of Homelander's legal defense funds reveals nearly all his donations went to portraits of him. This is yet another jab at Trump, whose charity paid $20,000 for a portrait of him. Butcher's new plan to save Ryan includes drugging him, and thank God it doesn't pan out that way. After convincing him to come visit by hacking into his Tournament of Heroes video game, Butcher sees how conflicted Ryan is about staying with Homelander. Butcher doesn't really need to use these drugs at all. The two have a really heartfelt and emotional talk, which is something Homelander could never do. And Butcher's non-action here pisses off Kessler, who needs to know what to do about this boy.
Either we figure out how to train him, or we figure out how to kill him.
It seems Victoria has been purposely left out of any meetings with the president-elect. She's spent countless hours on the Superhero Management Act only to find that Singer is taking a hardline stance against Supes. No longer will they be allowed in the military, policing, or government positions.
Supes are entertainers, period. End of story.
This puts Victoria in a difficult position. Either she sides with the humans who want to roll back Supe rights, or she sides with Homelander who wants to take over humanity. She'll have a chat with Homelander at the ice show rehearsal where Huey overhears this whole thing go down. When Homelander catches him, it turns to utter chaos, with Jesus doing the most damage, running over people's fingers and trampling over others with his skates. This whole debacle is covered up by Vought as being a tragic fire. Huey is actually saved by A-Train here, once again hinting that his arc is one of becoming a real hero. Episodes 1 to 3 leave us with many interesting threads. We have Homelander digging into his past by going home, what Victoria will do if she becomes president, a new member of the Seven, Butcher's health, Ryan's future, and a whole lot more. Now this is where I turn it over to you. What do you think will happen next? Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. I'll also be coming out with a trailer breakdown video, so be sure you're subscribed for that. Thanks for watching, make sure to like and sub, and for more bad takes you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember,
does nobody come back pregnant?